Hey, good evening, everybody. Ira J. Ackery here. I'm the host of the All Hands on Deck. We come to you every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. here on Cable Access, Channel 21. Tonight I have my guest with me. I'm so apologetic that my co-host, Miss Doris Davenport, is not in the show today, and she will not be by my side. She's out there working hard. She's a community leader, and she's a radio host, and she's a consultant for some major politicians around here. And but we are both committed to empowering the marginalized and encouraging the masses. And today I have with me my guest. This gentleman is running for Cook County Assessor. To my right is Mr. Fritz. KG Fritz, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Ira. Good to see you.
It's so good
you don't mind me calling you Ira because we talk about so many different things.
Well, that's fine. You know, I'm Ira to so many of my classmates and friends, and Ackery to some people in the neighborhood. Pastor to this. Just call me anything. Just don't call me late for dinner.
All right.
All right. Let me just pause here for a second and give a personal invitation, because the Austin Empowerment Coalition is an organization where I'm the chairman of the board at, and because of Austin Empowerment Coalition's relationships, we've been able to parlay this collaborative between ourselves and Chicago, Cook County Workforce Development. Mm-hmm. We've been able to bring in this particular job collaborative to our facility. So at Greater St. John on Wednesdays, 9 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m., 1256 North Waller Avenue, job leads and workforce development. If you are prepared, come with your resume, get some of these job leads, and if you just have a willing mind, if you just are inspired to get a job and don't have these necessary skill sets or background, come tomorrow, 9 a.m. through 1 o'clock p.m. Get these job leads and also get some resume training, coaching, interview tips, all of the above. Be there tomorrow. If you know somebody, and I always say it like this, if you have an adult living in your home and they are not working, tell them to come to 1256 North Waller Avenue unless you enjoy taking care of adults. All right. Fritz, so glad to have you here with us today.
Delighted to be here. I grew up watching KNTV. Used to be on Channel 19, and I appeared first time when I was in high school, and it's so good to be here.
Man, it's so good to be here in the studio with you. Listen, you are running for Cook County Tax Assessor. Now, why should people be concerned about that? Why is this job so important that you are going around campaigning and all that? You have a pretty good life. Why do you want to be Cook County Tax Assessor?
Well, this office is really important because it's about the fairness of our property tax system.
Sure.
This finances our education, healthcare, infrastructure, local government. It is really important because it's about fairness. It's about, we have all these bodies that they collect $14 billion of property taxes, but the assessor decides how that bill is split amongst all of you watching out there and all of the people around us. And it can be done fairly or not. And the way I see it being done today is I think it's a great injustice. We have billions of dollars of benefits that are given to skyscraper owners downtown like Donald Trump, and we have millions of people who have to make up the difference, especially out in Austin, the community you were talking about, in the west side that we know, south side, in the south suburbs, western suburbs. Actually, the more modest your income in every neighborhood, the more you pay. I see this as a great injustice. And the thing that really interests me is that we can change this system.
Okay.
It's an executive office, so we're used to seeing hoping for miracles in Springfield or Washington if a whole bunch of different planets align, right?
Sure.
This is different. We get new determined leadership here. We can drive change, so that's really interesting to me. We can eliminate a lot of the injustice in this system, a lot of the corruption in this system through determined leadership, and deliver an economic benefit to 5 million people, advance social justice. That's something that at age 46, I want to do, and I've got the skills to do this right, because my career has been about valuing assets and about stewardship, taking data to value things, and I don't have a conflict of interest. I come from outside the system, and I have a mind. I think I know how we need to do this right to fix this system.
Well, a lot of people run for these offices.
Yeah.
And they start off with the noblest intentions.
Yeah.
They come in with progressive agendas. And then once they get in office,
Yeah.
they flip and they become the status quo. How do we know you're not going to do that to us?
Well, I'm going to earn your trust because I have to take on this entrenched interest of the property tax appeals industry to win. It is clear who the enemies are here and where they stand, because we have a property tax system today that is basically intentionally failing, and the only way you can get a just outcome is to hire one of these lawyers. They're the folks who fund our current assessor's campaign, and I'm committed to removing the political influence from the valuation of people's homes, and I'm committed to doing it accurately and fairly so that people won't have to appeal to get a just outcome. And I won't have any excuse for not doing that. This is an executive office. Like I said, I don't need anything from Springfield to make our platform happen.
You don't need
It's
anything
up to
from
me.
Springfield.
Yep.
You don't need anything from the Cook County Board of Commissioners.
That's
and
right.
You don't need anything from Rahm Emanuel or the City Council.
That's right. This office has great authority to determine
It's
how we
autonomous?
value how we value properties. Now, its budget comes from the Cook County Commission, and for sure in Springfield they could do things to make this office work
Okay.
better. You know, seniors right now, they've been given their exemption form, sent their exemption forms. They have to line up at the assessor's office now to say that, okay, I'm 67 rather than 66 last year. You have to reattest to some of
Sure.
these things that you really shouldn't have to do. So that's how something that Springfield can make things better. But to make the system more transparent, to make it fair, to eliminate conflict of interest, we don't need a new law to do any of that.
Absolutely. Fritz, we have a call coming in. Caller, welcome to the show. You're on All Hands on Deck.
Yes, sir. My name is Ray.
Hi,
And
Ray.
I want to ask the future assessor, I'm going to be 70 years old in March.
Uh-huh.
For the last 30 years, everybody that gets on TV or somewhere public say the same thing: transparency. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And guess what happens? The rich get richer. They have the money to cut down on their taxes, where the poor don't. So they have to pay everything that the assessor said. So
What's your question? What's your question?
Okay, my question is this, Mr. Next Assessor, how are you going to be different, and how are you going to prove it?
All right. Thank you so much
That is
for
a
calling in.
that is a great question, and I understand your frustration. Could you tell me what neighborhood you live in?
The caller's gone.
Okay.
Sure.
So here's the difference. So we're used to people running for office, running for the legislature.
Sure.
Where when they get to the legislature, they say, you know, here's what I want to do. Here's what I would like to do. But to get something done, you need all these planets to align. You need a whole coalition to be formed down in Springfield. You need a governor to sign it. You know, we have all these checks and balances in the legislature. That's what people are used to.
So once you win, because let me just tell you, I'm supporting the guy. But once you win, you will get how many years?
You'll get 4 years.
You'll get 4 years of autonomy and independence,
Uh-huh.
and then you will be judged
Right.
after the 4 years by the residents of Cook County.
That's right, and there will be no lie because it's going to be in your property tax bill.
Sure.
So here's what we're committed to doing. The way I see it, the problems with this system, the biggest problems are that it is corrupt, where we have huge underassessment to the tune of billions of dollars on downtown corporate properties that are underassessed because they're the clients of the donors to our current assessor. And who makes up the difference? Millions of people, especially on the west side and south sides, west suburbs, south suburbs. So the way we solve that is we run a new model, and the assessor has the authority to run that model that's more fair and accurate. And part of the reason why that problem exists is also pay to play. Okay. Corruption, the influence of the property tax appeals industry. Well, the way we're getting rid of that is we're not taking donations from people
that's the
in that
part
industry.
that I need some clarity on.
Yeah.
Where are you getting your donations from?
We have about 1,000 donors from all over the county. People, and actually no corporate donors right now. So it's all individuals who care about making our property tax system fair and transparent.
What's the average
and ethical.
donation? Do you know that?
I don't know. Well, it would be on the order of several $100s.
Okay.
But I put in a lot of my own resources as well. Running countywide is an expensive proposition, but this is something very worthwhile. It's about the fairness of our property tax system, and I'm glad to do it. And we're not going to be beholden to that industry, which is profits off a failing system.
Absolutely.
We want to get it right the first time, so that you don't need to hire a lawyer to get a just outcome.
312-738-1060. Some of you are making comments on Facebook Live. Do me a favor, call in right now, 312-738-1060 with your comment or your question.
Right.
Listen, there are other people running. How many candidates are running altogether?
There are 2 people on the ballot and 1 person who's trying to get on the ballot.
All right. Is there going to be a debate?
We sure hope so. We want to have debates. I think the first debate is coming up in early. Actually, the first debate may be at Trinity this weekend, Trinity United Church of Christ down on the south side, and then there'll be one in early February at the Hideout. And we want to have lots of forums because these issues must be discussed. It's about the fairness of how we finance government. This is a social justice issue, where we find that the poorer you are, the more impacted your neighborhood is by the housing crisis, the more black and brown your community, the higher the rate you pay. It's an outrageous injustice, and it must be discussed.
Now, Fritz, there have been a whole lot of negative ads out there about you, my friend.
Yeah.
They are saying things, like that you have invested your money in the penal system.
Yeah.
That rubs a lot of us in our community the wrong way. I want to give you an opportunity to speak to that.
Well, it rubs me the wrong way too, because my whole investing record was a public record published by the SEC, and my company published the monthly investments that we had during my whole career there. And during the whole time that I managed funds at my company, we never invested in companies in this industry, ever. And the reason why is because I blocked them. I went to Trinity back in 2013, so Black History Month.
Sure.
And Otis Moss presided over it, and they had this beautiful ceremony for Black History Month, and they had a couple different coffins there, and one was for Jim Crow, and another one for slavery, and another one for the new Jim Crow. And I asked Pastor Otis, what's the new Jim Crow?
Right.
And he showed me this book by Michelle Alexander.
Yeah.
And it talked about how our incarceration policy has been a giant failure the last 20 years. And I knew these were bad companies that did bad things, and they weren't good investments, but I also saw that the sentiment of the American people is changing. And the last thing you want to be involved with the sentiment of the American people changing on this, like on drug policies, for example, is own a company like that. So I always block those investments, and that's why we have such terrific social justice advocates backing us, like Robin Kelly and Danny Davis and David Orr and Our Revolution Illinois, which is Bernie Sanders' organization. They see that we're on the right side of social justice on this issue.
Now, So potentially there may be 3 candidates. What makes you a better candidate than the other alternative? We know
Sure.
about Barrios, but there's another candidate, Andrea. She's running.
Right.
What makes you a better option than her?
Sure. Well, the thing is, I do not come out of the property tax appeals industry. We cannot solve this, the problem with our assessment system with more appeals. Appeals only make it more unfair. Because
So she's made money off the system.
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. And my
So
background.
she's been a part of the problem.
That's right. And my background is I've been valuing assets and been involved in stewardship over people's assets for over 2 decades. I'm the only candidate who's a certified Illinois assessment officer, which is a credential that every township and county assessor in Illinois is required to have, except in Cook County, where there's no requirement whatsoever. But I took upon myself to get this qualification to show that I have respect for the professional standards of the industry. To fix this system, we have to take a lot of data and then use good models and not have a conflict of interest and implement that.
So-
and you can't do that if you're coming out of an approach from saying that we need more appeals, and your experience has been cherry picking a couple of
Sure.
comps to shift the burden from one group at the expense of another group. We need to get this right for everyone.
Now, the other race, the other races. Have you chosen
Yes.
any candidates? State's attorney, attorney general, the gubernatorial race. Any other people you've endorsed? Have you? A lot of people have endorsed you. Have you endorsed anyone?
Well, I have not had time to go out and pick amongst all the great candidates that are there. What I
All the great candidates. He's learned how to be a politician real quick.
I mean, in truth, what I tell people about the governor's race is you should select the gubernatorial candidate that you think will get progressive income taxation in this state and a new school funding formula. Those are the 2 biggest tasks before the next governor. The next governor has to make it their priority. That's also how we get to a fairer property tax system because, for example, folks in the south suburbs, they
I want to thank you right there. You just encouraged me to go out and vote for Chris Kennedy. So thank you for that insight. Go ahead.
All right. Well, what I'd say is this is something that the voter has to judge, not about just what they're saying, but also who is the most committed to getting it done.
Absolutely.
And I've been spending so much time campaigning for myself that I honestly don't know which one I'm going to pull the lever for on the governor's side. And then the AG, it's even more complicated because there are really a lot of talented candidates. I mean, a whole bunch of them.
And there's going to be a nice little race for First District Cook County Commissioner, where my good friend Richard Boykin is running. That's going to be a nice race. Chicago Teachers Union has a young candidate who's running, very talented young individual, bright person, and it's going to be pretty interesting there.
Yeah,
so we look forward
two
to that
very
race.
smart, talented people going head to head.
Yeah. Now let me ask you, 312, we running out of time, 312-738-1060. I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about how many employees you will have, what the budget is, where will you pull your employees from? I'm asking about employees because on Wednesday, on the west side in the Austin community, 1256 North Waller, 1 day a week, 9 to 1 p.m., there is a job club at our church. One of the greatest ways to empower people is to put them to work. All right.
Okay, so the assessor's office has about 300 employees, which is a pretty small amount considering that it's deciding how our tax bill is split up amongst all of the 5.2 million people in the county.
A lot of accountants?
Analysts. So this is actually a very high-skilled job. We have analysts who are out there trying to value all the downtown skyscrapers, taking into account 1.8 million properties. This is the biggest assessor's office in the whole United States. Wow. We've got the second biggest county, but it's the biggest assessor's office in the United States. Its budget is about $25 million. It's a very data-intensive, systems-intensive job.
Now, 300 jobs, you have
Some are civil service. Most of them are civil service.
Civil service.
But then there are also political appointees.
Okay.
And this is where it's really key to get a diverse and talented workforce. Right now, the person who heads IT is the current assessor's former secretary.
A lot of nepotism. Now.
Right, and there's lots of nepotism
Yeah.
too.
Now, let me ask you this. People, why are Ronner and Chris Kennedy coming down so hard on burials? What?
Well,
I hear a lot of criticism. What's the biggest criticism?
What we find traveling around the county is that the whole county is done with this assessor. They're
Okay.
just done, and they're done for a variety of reasons. They've heard for a long time about the nepotism and the patronage, and they can see in their property tax bills that something is very wrong here. They see the differences between them and their neighbors. It makes them mad. They get pelted with all this mail. It makes them feel bad about the system, the corruption there. But then people have started to learn more and more about the social injustice
Sure.
of having billions of dollars of benefits given to downtown corporate skyscraper owners like Donald Trump, who gets millions of dollars of benefits from tax deductions, and who makes up the difference? Millions of people who are not insiders. And that's what really it has caused the whole county to turn away from this assessor. They know it's wrong. It's been widely reported in the press, and a lot of people have been reassessed this year. You know, if you look in the south side, south suburbs, people have been hit really hard by the housing crisis there, but their property tax bills keep going up. And it's gotten to the point where people, you know, I went to Kenwood Academy in Hyde Park, graduated class of '89, but a lot of my classmates who bought in the south suburbs over 10 years ago, they're still underwater. They can't sell their home because the prices has not moved in a decade, and they feel stuck.
So with my $200,000 house, how much money per year will you save me?
Well, you're if you live on the west side, you're probably being overassessed by around $500, $600 a year.
So
for the value
you
of the
can
home.
possibly put $500 or $600 in my pocket.
That's right, and because we're going to be more fairly assessing downtown corporate properties, we're not going to have money flowing into the pockets of lawyers to get you a just outcome. We're going to try to get it right the first time. We're going to be more accurately assessing your home so that you're not overassessed. And we're going to be transparent. We're going to tell people for the first time how their assessments were calculated so that this office for the first time is accountable to outside parties.
So what's going to happen? What's going to happen with the future of the Board of Appeals?
Well, so it's now called the Board of Review, and the Board of Review is an appeals body, okay? And so you can't solve the problem with an appeals approach, but the Board of Review is there if there's something flawed at the assessor's office.
Gotcha.
So we're going to try to iron out all these flaws.
You're going to give them less work?
Right, well, that's what we hope to do, and we also want to give fewer extreme. What someone can do when they go to the Board of Review is they can cherry pick really low examples to get their own assessment cut, and then everyone makes up the difference. Well, we're going to try to get rid of those outliers.
Fritz, listen, I want to thank you for coming into the show.
Yep.
I'm going to give you 20 seconds to speak to the audience here on CAN TV, Facebook Live. You got 20 seconds to make your appeal as to why you should be the choice to replace Barrios as the Cook County Assessor. Well,
thanks, Ira. You know, the system that we have today, people are done with it because it's corrupt and it's unfair. And you need someone who has the skills, as someone who's been valuing assets and providing stewardship to deliver change here. That's why we have the endorsements of great leaders like 3 members of Congress, Robin Kelly and Danny Davis, and so many other great leaders. And people are coming behind us. They know that we can change the system. And the thing that I like to leave people with is that this is an executive office where the authority of the assessor, we can deliver a big economic benefit that advances social justice, that advances good government for 5.2 million people. That is a real rarity in politics, and I'm happy to be providing the leadership to do it.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Fritz Kagi, and I want to let you know that I'm endorsing him for the next assessor for Cook County. Thank you for coming in.
All right, thanks,
We'll
Ira.
see you next week.
Appreciate it.
God bless.
Thanks.
All hands on deck, 4:30.
Thanks, everybody.